Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? Back in the 70s when I was a kid, the beer that I saw most adults drinking was Pabst Blue Ribbon, Miller High Life, Schlitz, and Lowenbrau. I haven't seen a Lowenbrau in years. And every once in a while, I'll see some Schlitz in the store or in a bar. And you still see Miller High Life in bars and grocery stores. But the beer that's regained its popularity from the 70s and 80s is Pabst Blue Ribbon. I wish I could find the picture, but years and years ago, well before I was of legal drinking age, there's a picture of me on the beach with a bag of Funyuns and a little pony Pabst Blue Ribbon. So you might say I've had Pabst Blue Ribbon running through my blood most of my life. Because once again, before I was of legal drinking age in the late 80s, while I was still in high school, I was drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. And still to this day, now that I'm well beyond the legal drinking age, it's still one of my favorite American beers. So when I saw that Campbell's had teamed up with Pabst Blue Ribbon, it was a no-brainer. I had to try the chili and the beer cheese soup. So that's what we're doing today. Starting off with a 16.5 ounce can of the new Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beef, Bacon, and Beer Chili with beans that cost $2.62. Now I've said this many times before, I'm not the smartest person I know. But I've read this several times and I just can't make it make sense. Cheers, soup that hops. I understand they're referring to the hops in the beer, but that just doesn't make any damn sense. Once again, these processed food companies' marketing teams are showing how smart they are. They gotta be able to do better than this. Here's the fairly short list of ingredients. And I'm happy to say there's no TVP. The whole can of Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beef, Bacon, and Beer Chili with beans has 530 calories, 19 grams of total fat, 7 grams of saturated fat, a half a gram of trans fat, 50 milligrams of cholesterol, 1,430 milligrams of sodium, 61 grams of carbohydrates, 13 grams of fiber, 13 grams of sugars, and 28 grams of protein. Here's another dandy from the marketing team. Heat, stir, and serve. At what point are we going to realize that they're insulting our intelligence? Even Scooter knows how to heat up a can of soup. Yes, I do! Now let's get our chili out of the can and into the pan. And the pan I'm using today is a 9.5 inch Swiss granite coated omelet pan that BeGone30 picked up off my Amazon wish list and sent it to me. Thank you very much. So in goes the chili into the pan over medium-high heat. And to be perfectly honest, it looks like a typical canned chili, which it is. That's probably exactly why it looks like typical canned chili. I found it odd that as the chili was heating up and we were mixing it up, I didn't get any chili aroma whatsoever. After heating on medium-high for 2.5 minutes, our chili is ready. So we gave it one last mix, and again, I'm not getting any aroma of chili. So we gave it one last mix, scooped up a big old spoonful, and there's definitely a lot of beans in this chili, and I don't see a whole lot of measurable pieces of beef or bacon. So into the old pie hole and down the gullet it went. All right. Let me take another bite before I tell you what I think. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something. Visually, it was starting to remind me a little bit of Wendy's chili. And after taking a visual picture and taking that second bite, I learned that looks can be deceiving. Because this can of so-called chili tasted absolutely nothing like chili. It simply tasted like a sweet can of kidney beans. Which, don't get me wrong, I love kidney beans straight out of the can, or even heated up with a little bit of butter. But when something is labeled as chili, you gotta make it taste something like chili. I didn't really taste any beef, although I felt it in my mouth, and I certainly didn't taste any bacon or beer. I really wanted to love this soup. For the main purpose, it was made with PBR. But unfortunately, it sucked. Which is why I'm giving Campbell's Pabst Blue Ribbon, beef, bacon, and beer chili with beans a 2 out of 10. Now let's hope that the next can of Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beer Cheese with potatoes and chorizo is better. Now here's the ingredient list, and once again, there's no TVP, thankfully. Now the whole can of Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beer Cheese with potatoes and chorizo has 470 calories, 26 grams of total fat, 7 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 40 milligrams of cholesterol, 1,720 milligrams of sodium, 47 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams of fiber, 4 grams of sugars, and 12 grams of protein. What is the deal with these processed food companies and the sodium?
Yeah, Larry, you do know that our bodies need sodium, right?
Scooter, if I hear that one more time from you or anyone else, I just don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Yes, of course our bodies need sodium to survive. However, not an abundant amount of sodium in processed foods. There are healthier ways to get the sodium that you need without eating processed foods.
I'm sorry, Larry. I was just trying to show you how smart I was.
Scooter, everyone, especially you, knows how smart you are. So just sit back and enjoy the video until Mom calls you for dinner. Now let's get our beer cheese out of the can and into the pan and heat it up. And while it's still in the can, it doesn't look too bad. And then out of the can, it doesn't look too bad either. There's definitely a whole lot of potatoes in this, that's for sure. Now again, our heat is on medium-high, and we're gonna let it go until it's thoroughly heated through, about 2.5 minutes, like the first can. And unfortunately, just like the chili, while it was heating up, and as I was mixing it, I didn't get any sort of aroma whatsoever. After heating on medium-high for 2.5 minutes, our Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beer Cheese with potatoes and chorizo is thoroughly heated through. So we give it one more mix, and then got a big old spoonful. And again, I'm still not smelling any sort of aroma. And then into the old pie hole, and down the gullet it went. Okay, so the beer cheese, potatoes, and chorizo has a lot more flavor than the chili did. Now hold your horses. When I say it has a lot more flavor than the chili did, that's not really saying much, because the chili didn't have any flavor at all, other than a sweet flavor. You definitely got a rich, creamy, sharp flavor from the cheese. The potatoes were cooked good, but I did not taste any sort of chorizo or beer whatsoever. If you're going to label something as beer cheese or beer chili, you need to make it taste. It needs to have a predominant flavor of beer. It doesn't have to be an overpowering or overwhelming flavor of beer, but you got to be able to taste the beer. Otherwise, don't call it beer anything. Like I said earlier, I really wanted to like both of these soups, mainly because they had PBR in them. But the Campbell's Chunky Pabst Beer Cheese with potatoes and chorizo is almost as bad as the chili, which is why I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, share it with your family and friends, and I'll see you soon.